Happy weekend to everyone. Happy July 4th to those of you who are celebrating, but mainly happy World Cup as we have entered the round of 16 for many. The World Cup starts today, but it has been an unbelievable few weeks. I am David Goss here with First Touch 26, your daily World Cup show every single day, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, live from New York City and, of course, out on podcast. And today I am lucky enough to be joined by two of my favorites, Michele Giannone and Eric Krakauer, sporting my high school soccer jersey for Claudia Reina over there on the side, but looking slim, looking trim in it. So I appreciate that one of us can still fit inside of it.
Barely.
We are going to get ready for about 15 hot dogs later today, and then that jersey won't fit either of us ever again after that. We've got a lot to talk about. As I said, we are into the round of 16, so we close out the round of 32 yesterday with Colombia's victory in Kansas City. So we're going to reset everything for you. We've got a buy or sell that Michele is going to walk us through. We will talk a little bit about the heroics of Cape Verde from yesterday. We will talk about the dramatics of Egypt and Australia. We will talk about the quality of Colombia, and then we're going to look forward into the round to come. We're going to talk about some of the biggest matchups that come up over the next week, and of course we will look into today's games, in which Canada will face off against Morocco in Houston, Texas, and then the day closing out with France facing off against Paraguay at the site of our nation's birth for the July 4th festivities in Philadelphia. So it's going to be what? Oh, we've got breaking news. Mexico and England has moved their game up. They're going to be kicking off sooner. Excuse me, breaking news again. The game's actually already started. They're actually 47 minutes into the game. Wait, what is that? Oh, no. It's back on to normal times. Mexico's going to play England at some point over the next few days. No one knows when or where.
Happy 4th.
Happy 4th.
Happy 4th. Excited for the barbecue later?
Yeah.
You haven't invited me anywhere.
I'm staying in a hotel, so the barbecue is boiling water and a coffee machine and sticking hot.
I was going to say, I wasn't invited either.
Yeah, so yesterday, let's start with the Mexico-England news, because I want to say that when we talk about Argentina, Cape Verde, as a fan, sometimes sports give you these moments that you're going to remember forever. Mm-hmm. In 20 years, 30 years, you're going to think back and you're going to remember exactly where you were.
Yeah.
And Argentina, Cape Verde, especially the extra time, was one of those moments.
I was at the New York Liberty game. Breonna Stewart putting up a 36 burger against the Lynx lock-in.
You were?
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice. So Mexico, England, after a lot of people gave as official the news that it's going to be moved to noon in Mexico City, which is 2 hours behind Eastern time in the U.S. At the end, both Mexican federations, and I have information about this, spoken to a lot of people, both Mexican Federation and the England Federation told FIFA that's unacceptable. We don't want to play that early. It changes and it screws everything from your plan that you have ahead to prepare to the game preparation, your post-game preparation, your travel, etc. So FIFA tried to say that they were worried about the weather because there were thunderstorms later, or there's supposed to be thunderstorm later in the day in Mexico City, like in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Wrong. That was not the main reason. The information that I have is that British TV, BBC, they wanted the game earlier because noon in Mexico is 7 p.m. in England, Sunday night, prime time. And there was also a factor from the Mexican government that they were worried about safety.
Yeah, because there were some deaths after the celebrations post the
Yeah, so the game is at 6 p.m. local time. So if the game goes to extra time or PKs, you're looking at people leaving the Azteca,
At
both
9
England fan, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. And if you don't know, Azteca, it's far away from Mexico City Center, where most of the people are celebrating the Angel, where you saw the celebrations after Mexico beat Ecuador. It could easily be with traffic, like a 2-hour drive from Azteca. So at the end, weather was not the issue. It was safety, and the British TV wanted the game to be earlier. But credit to the Mexican Federation and credit to the England Federation that said, no, sorry fans, you got to stay up and watch us at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., the game stays at 6 p.m. local, which is 8 p.m. Eastern time.
It's, I think it's unfortunate that some fans, it will be at 1 a.m. This is the reality of a World Cup. Not every country lives in the same time zone. I got up to watch the U.S. play in Australia and New Zealand for 2 straight weeks at the 2023 Women's World Cup. A lot of us got up for the 2002 World Cup in Korea and Japan. Sometimes the time zone works well for you. Sometimes it doesn't. I think one of the wild experiences about this entire thing is it's as if no one in England checked the bracket before the tournament started. It feels like for the first time, everyone is realizing England's playing in Mexico City. Like a friend of mine said to me yesterday, and it was a great point, why didn't they base camp in Denver? Like if Mexico...
Because of the altitude.
But if Mexico knew they were going to have to play in the Azteca, England. You assume England believed they were going to win the group, right? I assume they came into the tournament believing they were going to win the group. And when they laid out their experience and their road, it always went through the Azteca, whether you played Mexico there or not. It always physically went through the Azteca. That part wasn't up for grabs. And actually, England had one of the most straightforward ones because they were a number 1 seed and everyone knew and all of that. So... And now they're coming in 48 hours before the game, which is like a total train wreck. It's not late enough. It's not early enough. It's right in the middle. You could have done some things to attempt to alleviate some of this earlier on. But the BBC thing just goes along with it, which is, oh, this game's at an inconvenience. Like you knew all of this. You knew all of this 6 months ago. You knew all of this on what? We sat in Legends Bar December 2nd, whatever it was. Like, and it just feels like all of a sudden everyone has been caught off guard by this moment. But this was a chaotic 3-5 hours.
Yeah.
Where I'm getting texts from everyone. It was like, what's going on? And the weather delay on the Mexico-Ecuador game was something we've never really experienced before. As we've talked about, weather in North America happens.
Well, we were worried about that happening in the United States in different regions, and yet it happens in Mexico City.
And I think we might see something in Philadelphia today because of the heat. I think it just might be unplayable.
Well, there are heat advisories all over the country as well.
Yeah.
And there was one in Toronto before Portugal's game against Croatia.
100%, yeah.
And 88 degrees. I forget what the humidity was, but it was really, really high. And that's going to have an impact on performance, regardless of whether the game gets interrupted or not.
Yeah. But it was this whole thing was a wild experience. I've just never seen it around a World Cup. World Cups have always been a thing where it's like everything is set in concrete.
Right.
And you don't really change things.
I do think that the safety concerns are super legitimate, though. You'd know a lot better about this than I would. But the fact that you did have some people die in the celebrations, the fact that there is a considerable difference. And also, you're talking about 2 fan bases that could potentially, worst case scenario, get embroiled in something explosive. Okay, we know about the English and how they've traveled, and thankfully we haven't seen too much of that over the last few years. As for the Mexico fans, it isn't that they're in the same category as the English ones historically, but they love to party, they love to celebrate. Look what they were doing outside Ecuador's hotel as well. And that, for me, is a bit of a powder keg, depending on what could happen in the game. I'm just saying, if you don't have the right security apparatus, if it's not properly planned...
All of this I think
needs to be considered.
2024 showed us that if you don't plan in 2024 Copa America, the issues down in Miami. If you don't have planning, if you don't have proper infrastructure around this, and proper infrastructure is normally staff and security to be able to break things up early or move people around if necessary, you could be in for an issue. I think the example we've seen so far at this World Cup is people who have traveled to be a part of this. They have this environment that they've built, which is enjoyment being around it. And I would say the Ecuador stuff at the hotel, I think that stuff was fun. Like, I think obviously Ecuador didn't enjoy it, but I don't think it was aggressive in any way.
No, and I didn't mean that.
No,
I didn't mean that, but I think that what happens is tensions are higher at this stage of a competition. Sure. You've got Mexico already with a historic campaign.
Yeah, who feel potentially invincible, and when you lose from that, you can get sad
While
fast.
England also have aspirations to win for the first time since '66. All these things together could become a dangerous catalyst.
The other piece that, as they start talking about this, is noon at the Azteca. It's going to be 112 degrees on that field.
Heat, altitude.
I watched. Someone brought up to me, and I didn't need to be reminded. 2009 World Cup qualifying. Charlie Davies scores the goal. Shout out to the stanky leg. We love you, Charlie. That was a day game. U.S. died after the 60th minute. The cycle before, it's a handball from Israel Castro on the second goal for Mexico. U.S. loses 2-1. I think Eddie Lewis scored the opening goal. I don't forget.
Okay.
I don't forget.
Okay.
That game as well was like noon, 1 p.m. local time. And I mean, the
It's
local
brutal.
players don't want to play in this. Like, Pumas plays the church game, and it is wild
I was
the way
gonna-
those soccer games are played versus what Club America plays on a Saturday night.
I was gonna say that. So in Mexico, teams, because each team, the rights work. Each team, they do their own TV rights. So you have half the league on TV Azteca, half the league with TUDN, some other teams with another cable company, etc. So Pumas, historically, their window, their TV window, and everything has been noon Sunday. Every match day at home. I've worked that game
I've been
when
to
I
that
was
game.
working at Univision. It's the most miserable and brutal atmosphere to work in. If the sun is beaming,
Yeah.
there's no place to hide, plus the altitude, plus the smog. Credit what credit is due, the smog and the contamination has gone a lot lower
sure.
in the past few years in
Mexico
Mexico, but
City's
still,
done a good job.
But
Yeah.
It's still a factor.
It's still a factor, but the altitude plus the heat. Even if I'm the Mexican players, I don't want to play at noon. So I think both federations did the right thing, standing up against FIFA, standing up against the British TV, and they kept the game where it should be. Yes, there's safety concerns, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a large gathering of people in an odd weather moment. There are safety concerns, and the hope is that everything's dealt with properly and everyone is fine, and we get a soccer game. And fingers crossed, I watched a British guy cry about it the other day on British radio. Oh, it's so unfair. They get to play at home at the Azteca. It shouldn't be this way. So hopefully the big experience we all have out of that is people like that are suffering in their lives and sad because England got walloped at the Azteca, and that's the most that we get. Okay. Let's move on because we've got our buy or sell, which I want to dig into. Michele is going to serve out a buffet of options, and myself and Eric are going to decide what we want to buy and what we want to sell.
Okay, number one, it's the easiest one. It's a softball, and there's just one correct answer. Probably you're going to get it wrong, but we have to start somewhere, and by you, I mean David Gass. Number one, all three host nations are going to advance to quarterfinals. That means the U.S. is going to beat Belgium, Mexico is going to beat England, and Canada is going to beat Morocco today.
Aren't you starting? Why are you looking at me?
I'm going to buy it on pure...
That's the wrong answer.
On pure belief. Oh, Canada, our home and native land.
What's your thing with Canada?
He loves Canada so much, I don't get it.
I mean, it's a great country.
I'm sorry, did you not spend a
I
ton
love
of time
Canada,
in
but
Montreal?
Not only Montreal, but Toronto as well.
And did you not love it?
Two of my favorite cities.
Absolutely. But I have said this over and over. I grew up here in the U.S. at a time when soccer was not a popular sport.
I love agro-gas.
I grew up here at a time when soccer was not a popular sport, and I've experienced the fight that it takes and the work it takes to grow the game, to make people care, while trying to build up programs when people don't care. It's the exact same experience in Canada. So the people that I've been lucky enough to meet in Canada, this is a huge moment for them, and I'm happy to cheer for them, and I'm happy to support them. And there are people who have been working to grow the game for 40, 50, 60 years in Canada who are seeing the fruits of their labor right now. On top of that, I think we've all been lucky enough to meet a lot of these players.
Yeah.
And Richie Larea is arguably my favorite athlete to interact with and talk to. Alphonso Davies.
So different from the character he is within the four lines.
Which I love. I absolutely love that about him.
Yep.
He's a shit stirrer on the field, and he is, I think, a Ghanaian prince.
The
like
nicest
literally,
guy. Oh,
his
really?
family is royalty, and he's the nicest guy, and he introduces you to people all that. Jonathan Osorio, one of the best people you'll ever talk to.
super
But it's
nice
up and
too.
down the board, this roster, and I would say Alphonso Davies, I think, is an inspirational character from many people. Take the sports away from it. A child born in a refugee camp who came to Canada with his family and then stands on a dais and gives a speech in front of the FIFA Congress to secure hosting rights for his country's World Cup, saying, I one day want to play in it, and then to go on and become the best left back in the world. Like, it's an unbelievable story out of Edmonton. And so
Big soccer hub, by the way.
Yeah,
Edmonton, Canada.
I find it very hard to root against this team.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And therefore, I root for them.
I'm glad I gave you the
on the flip
opportunity to
side.
express all
Yeah.
of this. So you're buying.
I'm buying out of need. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm selling because I think the Canadian story ends with Morocco. I just think Morocco are too strong. If they play the way they played against the Netherlands, I do not foresee the Canadians withstanding everything that Morocco will throw at them. Having said that, I don't think there's going to be a big difference between the two teams in this game because it is a knockout match after all. It is a Jesse Marsh team. They're going to be gunning for the Moroccans. It's going to be, high tempo, high intensity, and that in itself will be difficult for the Moroccans to deal with. But I do think that Morocco just have a little bit too much quality, and their collective as well will get them over the hump.
Number 2.
You don't have to buy or sell your own things. You just get to bring them up.
I mean, I'm gonna sell it because I don't think Canada is. I think Morocco's gonna win today. I actually think there's a higher chance of all 3 teams getting eliminated.
Yeah,
than all 3 teams.
I could see
advancing.
it happen, so I wouldn't be shocked.
Number 2. I think you're gonna have a hot take here or hot opinions.
I don't have hot takes.
Mind you, guys, they don't know what I'm about to bring.
We do not know.
This is blind. Colombia and my Colombian women. Colombia is the best CONMEBOL team left in the tournament.
I have to sell
Soccer-wise.
Yeah. Oh, in terms of like enjoyment,
Playing chances as a team, Colombia is better than Brazil and Argentina.
I picked Colombia to beat Argentina in our bracket that we did and lose to Brazil in the semifinals. So I guess technically I can't take this. From an enjoyment point of view, from a quality, from the way they play, they are by far the most enjoyable CONMEBOL team. They were coming into the tournament because the ones that have been eliminated were less enjoyable than the ones that are left. No one plays with the flair and energy and right now belief that Colombia plays with. So on that side, I would buy, but I don't know. I guess I ended up on a 50-50 eBay thing.
I'm buying. I have them in the final, if I remember correctly, on my bracket. I liked what I saw yesterday, except for the wastefulness and the fact that they kept going for a second goal when all they had to do was defend. But then again, Ghana didn't really do much when time was ticking down on them. They've got the physicality. They've got the cohesiveness. I think there is a very structured game plan. And then they have the individuals that accentuate the collective. They're not super deep, but they got some pieces that can come off the bench and make a difference. Cordoba's injury is now going to be a big factor. That's a groin strain for sure.
I think he's going to be out for the World Cup.
Yeah,
He's going to be. He likely will be out for the World Cup. I'm buying this. I just think that right now they are one of the very best top 3 teams in this competition.
Let's talk about Colombia, Ghana right now then for a little bit. Because I have Colombia in the semifinal. You have them in the final. You have them in the final. So
yes.
We are all
Very
riding
high.
the same
Yeah.
level of confidence and belief and enjoyment. Coming into the tournament, a lot of that for me was 2024 Copa America. Felt very much they learned how to be a tournament team, how to do enough. I was really underwhelmed by the performance against Ghana. And my 2 biggest fears for this team, one is lack of depth. And so how far can you go in a tournament as the games now get closer? And I remind everyone, Colombia goes from Mexico to Miami. They went from Miami to Kansas City. They go from Kansas City now to Vancouver. And if they were to win, they'd go back to Kansas City to eventually get back to Atlanta. So they would cross this continent basically 3 times in 2 weeks to play. And they have 13, 14 players in this rotation. Now you take Cordoba out, that rotation gets thinner at the thinnest position. Because what worries me about Colombia, and what I said to you in the pre-show was there will be a game where they outplay their opponents and they don't get enough reward for it and they end up behind. Because to play the way they've played and to only be up 1-0 in most of these games, to not even take a lead against Portugal, you don't get chances like that at a World Cup. And when you face off against an Argentina, which is what it would be if they make it to the quarterfinals, the 2 of them, that's a team that plays games where they're the worst team and they're up 1-0 because they know how to take their little advantages, and that scares me.
Yeah, I think that's a very legitimate concern, and it's really underscored by what we saw yesterday against Ghana. I did think that Ghana did one thing well, and that is lure Colombia into a very physical game. Mm-hmm. It was a very physical game, and that didn't necessarily knock them off their game, but it may have hurried them. You kind of accelerate a game when when somebody's being very physical with you. You want to move the ball a little bit quicker. That adds a chaotic factor to it in the attacking third. That materializes where they're trying to zip the ball too quickly and they're trying to take their chances a little bit too quickly. Lucho had the best chances of the game.
Two of them.
One of them he absolutely needs to score, shoots it straight at the goalkeeper. I just think that what we've seen from them, while it is true what you're saying that they're not scoring their chances, they're creating those chances. And when you can create those chances over and over again, something is going to go your way. Argentina also wasted a number of opportunities yesterday.
But Argentina has the
X factor.
Social capital, which is they've been here before. They've done this 3 straight tournaments,
yes,
and they've won all 3 of them. So for them, it's a winning formula.
Yeah.
For Colombia, it's a question mark.
Yeah, but this team is also has a ton of belief.
I couldn't get the dot.
This team also has a ton of belief. I feel like they're playing with a lot of confidence. They know that they can match up against any team in this competition. They know that they have difference makers in a number of positions. And when you can bring in a Quintero off the bench, except for the game against the second game that they played.
Uzbekistan? DR Congo.
DR Congo. Quintero, I didn't think was very good off the bench against DR Congo. But every other game, he has not only delivered great balls, but he has tried to do something special.
Yeah, he brings quality, and
that magic is important.
It was interesting how early James came off yesterday. And I think part of it was the physicality you talked about.
It was a bit of a non-factor.
It wasn't his game.
Yeah.
And we talked about it on the show. Richard Rios brings physicality to midfield. He closes up gaps.
Boy, did he bring physicality.
Yeah, and the 3 of them can do it. But I thought it was a little bit of an acknowledgement that Colombia doesn't dominate game states at this level any way they want. Yeah, because a bigger team, again, I'm sort of devil's advocate on a lot of this because I love this Colombia team, but a bigger team says, we're going to shove James, down your throat. We're going to make sure that this game becomes the game we want it to.
But the game doesn't need to go through James Rodriguez. And what is interesting about the game against Ghana yesterday, I thought that Colombia were at their worst during possession. And they had most of the possession. But when Ghana tried to play out of the back, or whether they went direct and committed numbers forward, Colombia cut through them like a hot knife through butter. That's the game that Colombia wants to play, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to play the possession game, even though the other day I told you that while possession can be a detriment to them, they have done better with the ball than I anticipated. Once they play a better team, they're going to play in transition more than they are with the ball at their feet.
So if that happens, the lack of depth becomes worse because it's more running.
More physical.
Yeah.
Yes, but
you can control game states in possession. And I think they did that really well in the group stage, which is I think they set themselves up in the group stage to have energy coming out of it. I think they handled games professionally. I mean, they should have beat Portugal. It didn't really matter in the end because they were first place in the group no matter what. They will face Switzerland, who, as we have said over and over, will play 3 straight games in Vancouver. They will then, if they go back to Kansas City, play the winner of Argentina versus Egypt. And then out of that, it would be Mexico, Brazil, Norway, or England in Atlanta in the semifinals. So they are all games you could very clearly say Colombia will believe that they should beat every team on that list, right? They'll have confidence against any CONMEBOL team.
Yeah.
They'll have confidence against Mexico. And I think they believe that they could beat England as well.
I mean, if you see the bracket, I'm pretty sure they're convinced they're going to beat Switzerland. I'm pretty sure they're convinced they can beat Argentina on quarterfinals. We're looking at the bracket,
especially
right
after
now.
the game last night.
Exactly. We got to remember, and you mentioned Argentina winning back-to-back tournaments. The Copa America final was against Colombia, a lesser Colombia than this Colombia, with less. If you're talking about depth, this Colombia has more depth than that Colombia, and Colombia outplayed Argentina. Yeah, what you're mentioning
Argentina won the game.
It's true because Colombia couldn't score.
Yeah.
So, but while I agree in the sense of that could be an issue. Also, you can see the other side. Do you expect Luis Diaz to be like this the whole tournament?
Yeah.
I mean, Luis Diaz, you can see that he feels the pressure to score. You know, I think he feels the pressure that he is now the guy.
The main man.
Colombia doesn't play through James anymore. Yeah. And I think the bench is deeper than you think because you have different options. When Quintero comes from the bench, you're adding quality. When Richard Rios comes to the bench, you're adding grit. You're a guy that can run, that is going to be scrappy. And this Colombia team, it's a beast defensively. Their center backs are incredible. Davinson Sanchez is a monster with the ball. If you think Team Rim is good in possession with the ball, Davinson Sanchez is like a number 6. He turns, he dribbles, he plays out of the back. No better not. And that Colombia didn't have Jefferson Lerma playing as a 6. They have Richard Rios starting. So I think this is another level that this Colombia team can reach. I have them until the final. Maybe I'm being naive, but I really, really believe in this team. And also now, with the injury of Córdoba, maybe Cucho Hernandez gets more minutes, and that could be a silver lining.
Yeah, I think Cucho Hernandez has a part to play now. And the promising thing as well about what we saw yesterday is that one of the better players for Colombia was Luis Suarez. His movement up top, he gets the assist for the goal. I feel like coming off the bench against Portugal inspired him a little bit. He needed that sort of game. The pressure was off a little bit because Cordoba all of a sudden was a starter. We predicted that Cordoba would start this game. Luis Suarez comes in, 10 minutes in, comes in early. He's a major factor, and that, I think, galvanizes him for the next match, and he's only going to continue to grow because he's a wonderful player. I mean, for people who don't know this Luis Suarez, this is a guy that...
What team does he play
Other than Watford, he has scored everywhere he's played. Everywhere.
I mean, he scored like 30 goals in the Portuguese league, right?
Yeah, he was the top scorer, but he was with Almeria. He was scoring a ton of goals there. He was at Zaragoza, if I remember correctly. He was scoring goals there.
Let me just last one because let's get back to buy or sell. When I say depth and there's lack of depth, they used 3 subs against DR Congo and 4 subs against Ghana. So I'm not telling you there's a lack of depth. Nestor Lorenzo is saying there's a lack of depth. And that affects you going forward. The players you have as a difference maker. Also the minutes that you've put on guys' legs because they've had to play so many of them. So I love the 3 midfield. There's 3 midfield options for 2 spots. That's great. There is now less depth at the center forward position. There was 2 guys fighting for it. You have Juan Ferrer who can come in. Now, Juan Ferrer is a game states guy. If you are under pressure, you cannot always bring him in because he does not defend and he cannot move. So it has to be the right game in the right moment. I'm just saying this is the type of stuff that why does Germany and Italy and France keep winning World Cups and going to World Cup finals is because they have depth, because they have multiple guys that step up. And what is it that keeps dark horses, which is taking that leap, is when you get deep into a tournament, you don't have enough guys that you trust in the big moment. You don't have enough guys to have belief. And it's what Mexico has run up against. It's what the U.S. has run up against. It's what Japan has run up against. It's what all these countries are trying to fight through, is to establish a squad that is good enough to go, even in their bad years, right? Germany 0-2. They literally rebooted their entire system after going to a World Cup final. Because even in their bad years, they have the knowledge and depth to get a little bit further, and that's what Colombia is fighting against.
And lastly, I think, again, this injury now forces Lorenzo to start Luis Suarez against Switzerland, and your sub, it's Cucho. Again, Cucho is going to, like you said, I think he's going to play a big part moving forward for Colombia, and it's going to force Lorenzo to go to his bench more and play more guys, and I think that's just going to benefit Colombia.
I think he could also play Carrascal. I'm surprised that we haven't seen Carrascal in this tournament. I mean, he's a wild card. You never know what you're going to get from him, but he's a special player with the ball at his feet. He can turn something out of nothing.
Give us something to buy or sell.
Last one. Okay, this one's fun, and please take into consideration chemistry, team function.
Everything we have
everything your smart soccer brains can give me. You are Didier Deschamps, You have this fantastic four up top. Mbappe, Dembele, Olise, and Barcola. Team is flying. Absolute killing machine. Best team. Prohibited favorite. But they come to you this morning, David Gass, and they tell you, Messi has renounced Argentina. He's French now. What? Now you can have him, but you got to send one of the front four home. Deschamps says, no, Messi, I don't want you. I'm sticking with my fantastic four. You're not worthy. Buy or sell.
So I have to buy or sell that I wouldn't take Messi on France if I ran France.
If you're Deschamps,
Yeah.
Messi doesn't start over any of your top four up top.
Buy. I would keep the four I have. The four I have that are working together, that are best four at the World Cup, and that are a unit in a specific way.
I'm going to sell.
We broke Eric's brain.
I'm going to sell. What I was trying to figure out is which one of those players would I take out?
Yeah, you got to tell me.
I would take off Ousmane Dembele.
My fantasy captain.
Is he really
Yeah.
your fantasy captain? He's an incredible player. He's the Ballon d'Or. But I sometimes find that he disappears in games for the French national team. Whereas Michael Olise, who for me right now is the golden ball in this tournament, everybody's been talking about Mbappe and the goals that he's been scoring, but did people see what Michael Olise just did in the last game? You've got runners for Messi. You've got a double pivot that is monstrous in Rabiot and Tchouaméni. Put Messi in front of them. And then you've got three runners. Michael Olise. Who am I missing?
Barcola
Barcola
and Mbappe.
and Mbappe.
Oh, maybe I take Barcola out.
No, I actually can I
No, I don't take Barcola
Can I
out.
assistant coach you here for a second?
Yes, I need an assistant.
On a team that I wouldn't run this way because I wouldn't take Messi. I think you're right with Dembele. I think for everything great about him, he is the least versatile in the style of soccer he can fit into. And I think one of the reasons we've seen him peak at the right times, I would argue at Dortmund and at PSG and not in between. Part of it's injuries, but part of it is he's the best player in the world in the open field, but can struggle a little bit more when the game condenses. Olise can do both.
Yep.
Barcola, I think not only is he an elite player, he understands how to be the right piece around other elite players.
Yes.
And
He's an
Mbappe's
accessory.
Mbappe.
He sees himself as an accessory. And then you've got Desiree Doué as well.
For sure.
So Messi is somebody who can lay the table for these guys.
Yeah.
You know, Michael Olise would have to take a bit of a back seat because right now he's the orchestrator for this team, which is remarkable to think about. The guy who is arguably the best winger in the world at the moment has also proven that he can be the best number 10 or play in that position at a level way beyond almost everybody else on the planet. And that just shows you the embarrassment of riches that France have at their disposal.
And
the versatility.
Messi to that
And add Messi to that. Like, what were you drinking last night that
Marcos
made you
Thuram
think of
hasn't
this?
seen the field. Marcos Thuram hasn't seen the field.
No.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Here's one of the funny things about France. They didn't score an open field goal at the 2024 Euros. The attack completely fell apart. And they ended up getting eliminated in the quarterfinals.
By Switzerland. No, who beat them in the quarterfinals?
Now you got me.
No,
looking at
Switzerland beat Italy on quarterfinals.
Yeah, I know that one would leave a mark, so I know you're right about that one.
Okay, so France ended up in PKs against Portugal. Sorry, they beat Portugal. They lost to Spain. They lost to Spain 2-1 in the semifinals.
Oh,
I was wrong.
2024. Like every tour, I'm thinking of 2021.
Yeah. So France beat Belgium 1-0. It was a 0-0 draw against Portugal PKs. They lost to Spain 2-1. And the winning goal against Belgium was an own goal. So in the knockout stages, France scored one open field goal. And if you remember, in the group stage, it was like a huge disappointment from them. I just want to remind myself since you guys are asking me about it. So they beat Austria 1-0 on an own goal. They drew Netherlands 0-0, and then Mbappe scored a penalty in a 1-1 draw against Poland to get out of the group stage. That was the 2024 Euros.
So what you're saying is Paraguay wins today.
The whole story was how much France struggled, and now they've been unlocked. And to me, Olise is one of the differences. But it's a huge credit to Didier Deschamps, a guy who has always said, let me control the game. Let me keep it tight. And his big shift in the past was bring Giroud in, play off him, big, little, that type of stuff. And I just think it's a credit to him in his what is very clearly going to be his last tournament that he's found another wrinkle that he's willing to go to.
You know what? I think you're giving Deschamps a little bit too much credit.
Maybe.
I think it's just the nature of the talent that is available to him, that he still has that same defensive structure. He still has, I'll mention them again, that Silla and Charybdis in midfield of Tchouaméni and Rabiot. And then he's got these thoroughbreds up top, and it's impossible to restrain them. You can't. So it's not like he's saying, go do what you want. There's still a structure there.
But he had them in 24.
He didn't have Michael Olise.
For sure, but it was still the French attack. You still had Marcus Thuram coming off the bench.
Dembele wasn't the player he's right now.
He was
2 years ago.
I mean, he was the player, but he wasn't.
He exploded in 2025.
He did. He didn't put it all together.
Yeah.
But I think that I really do think that Michael Olise is the catalyst of this team. He changes everything. Even when they played a friendly before the World Cup, and I know we're going off track and we need to get back on track, but they played in a friendly, and he goes into the middle, and it changes the dynamic of the game. And I thought, wow, he's got a real issue here. And by he, I mean Deschamps. You've got this incredibly effervescent winger, and now you might be forced to put him in the middle because of what he's done to the attack.
All right. Well,
thanks for playing.
Thank you for hosting for us. Thank you for bringing us through some of the wildest opportunities. We've already talked about Colombia, Ghana from yesterday. Let's talk Cape Verde for a moment, and then we will get into our round of 16. Extra time, 3-2 win for Argentina against Cape Verde. Just one of the games of all of our lifetimes, I think, is how it felt coming out of it. Argentina takes the 1-0 lead maybe earlier than I expected. Cape Verde ties it. Argentina takes a 2-1 lead. And every time Argentina scored in this game, we were thinking, it's over. And then, I mean, it's not even the goal of the tournament. It's one of the goals of our lifetime. That Cape Verde goal, when you combined moment, when you combine quality, when you combine all of the things that make us remember this, and Cape Verde are going to be the story of the 2026 World Cup.
Yeah, like I said at the top of the show, we're going to remember this forever, lifetime. We're going to remember exactly what we were, how we were feeling about it. I told you I was watching at a place that people weren't paying a lot of attention to the game, and the 2-2 goal, I just started screaming and running with my hands in my head. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And from that moment, like, people understood what was happening, and everybody was glued to the TV. We said this several times about Cape Verde when we saw them playing against Portugal and against Colombia. They're not afraid. Yeah, they're going to sit on a low block because that's their nature, and you're playing those type of rivals in Portugal, Colombia, and Argentina. But they're going to try to play out of the back. They're going to try to build up. They're going to play well and move well in between the lines. And we saw at the end of the game, on extra time, Argentina was holding on for their lives. And obviously, Vuzina is like an individual, a micro story of the big macro story, which is Cape Verde. But as a story, as a whole, it also gives credit to what we're going to see moving forward with a World Cup tournament of 48 teams. It's been worth it.
I've been reflecting on that game ever since the final whistle.
I think I saw you on Blue Sky this morning.
Yeah, I really have. Because, you know, you think of the nature of the World Cup and how it unites people, and how you have this incredible sporting event with incredible moments. And I think that Cape Verde's campaign is deeply resonant. It taps into all the themes that are rooted or are the root of the best stories that we pass along from generation to generation. It's not only the story of the underdog, right? The David versus Goliath, which we love to harp on. We love to talk about that. But at a time where we sort of extol the virtues of the individual, right? We love to celebrate the individual, the best player, you know, the star player.
The artists.
This was all about the collective. And yes, there were and are artists within this Cape Verde team. Sidney Lopes Cabral, the the goal that he scores in that moment. But it basically comes down to the cliche of it takes a village. It is complete buy-in. And what's interesting to me about that is the dichotomy within that collective and that it takes a village. That these are players plucked from a diaspora, wanting to represent the team of their families, their heritage, coming together for a common goal, shedding their individualism for the greater good. And then for us watching this, we want to be a part of that community. We want to be the community, right? We want to be the ones that root for them. And so what it did, and I watched the people around me, that surrounded me. I was surrounded by Argentines for this game, and then surrounded by Colombians for the next game. And when Sidney Lopes Cabral scores that goal, half the joint that I was at celebrated that goal, because it was deeply primal for me and for everybody else. It was almost as if the nationality, that cloaks us was like stripped off of us, and everybody understood how meaningful that moment was. So I actually got a little bit emotional. I was like, this is what it's all about. And it reminds us that the World Cup is not only the greatest sporting event on the planet, it is essential because it reminds us of what unites us. It reminds us of the things that are important. Sorry, it just deeply affected me.
I remember, and I don't want to get political here, but I saw a quote or someone saying a game like yesterday or the World Cup, like you mentioned, it's a good moment to remind us that take out the politicians, the whole world will
unites.
get along. Yeah, because
people on a base level want to be together. You talked about community, and community can grow, and community can be bigger. And
we want to coalesce around something as well.
And and I think one of the beauties, and I've always said this as someone in the U.S. pushing for soccer to grow, is it will actually give a bridge for Americans to get to know people around the world and get people to know Americans as individuals, like we've seen at this World Cup, right? The Waffle House, Netherlands fans, Cape Verde fans, all this stuff on a human level and not on a storyline level and on a media level. And I think that's really powerful and really, really important.
Let me tell you a story. Russia 2018. I had the opportunity to be there covering the whole World Cup, going to 9 different cities in Russia. And a week after the tournament started, 2 weeks after the group stage was done, Russia, Moscow, it was 24/7 craziness. The Argentinian fans, because everybody was congregated on the whole. Everywhere was the Brazilian party here, the Argentina party here. You turn the corner, is the Uruguay. Morocco fans were everywhere. And you will spoke to Russians that are blinded by their government and by what's happening around the world. And everybody was in love with everyone at the end. And the Russian people will tell you, the people that with the waiters and restaurants, Uber drivers, people at the hotel, it's like, we didn't know.
Yeah.
We didn't know you guys were like here. Are you from America? We love you guys. Are you? And it's like a reminder of what you said. It's every 4 years. This is so essential. Yeah. And I hope 6 months after the World Cup, we don't lose that, and we have to do the cycle again. It would be nice if maybe some
of the people on top didn't use it for terrible reasons as well.
Yes.
But to your point, the reason we fight for it, the reason we love it, the reason we care about it, and one of the reasons I wanted to do this show is it's ours. Yes. And we have to always keep fighting to keep it ours for the reason that you talked about, and not let it be hijacked for other spaces.
And Michele, and that's why when you say I don't want to be political, no, I think it is important to be political.
Yeah, it's also not political. It's just human beings.
This World Cup has been, albeit for a short while will be, an antidote to what we've been living through over the past few years and what has essentially been fueled over the last few months. The bigotry, the xenophobia that has enveloped us. And this has served as an antidote. You mentioned Americans and the opportunity that this provides to educate this country, Americans, about what is outside these borders. For a very long time, and it continues today, Americans have been insulated. Very few Americans have passports. Now, financial reasons have a lot to do with that. They don't get to travel. They don't get to experience other cultures. I lived in New York for 17 years. I now live in another place in the United States. New York can be very deceiving because you can begin to think that this is the United States, a place where it is the melting pot that everybody talks about. And so when you escape it, or not escape it because that seems negative, but when you leave New York, you realize that you don't have this everywhere in the United States. So it's much easier to indoctrinate hate and bigotry in people. But when this circus, and I mean that in a positive way, comes to town, you can't insulate people from
rock
that.
chalk Algeria. Something we thought we would never say ever is the Algerian national team finding a home in Lawrence, Kansas. That the Lawrence police and fire department are setting off fireworks to celebrate the Algerian national team coming back after drawing Austria. Like, these are phrases we thought we'd never say, but it's connections that last. And you know, my World Cup stories are the same. I still talk to Scotland fans that I went to Manaus with in 2014 who came for this World Cup and fell in love with Boston, and Boston fell in love with them. And now it's a relationship for individuals and for the cities that will never change. You add into that all of the people that have come around, and you get to see the pride of the Colombian communities and Ecuadorian communities in New Jersey and in Pennsylvania that people didn't know was around them. Cabo Verde, what they've done now has put their country on a map in a different way. But also it's allowed people to know they exist. And now you can have that pride, and you can have some understanding of where that country, people from that country come from, what their experience has been. I think the story this soccer team tells is the story of the country, which is a necessity to have people leave to have a financial future and have a safe future, but now the work being done at home to build the country up. And that's what I think is a very true story that gets told from this soccer team. Can I keep us in soccer space for a second?
Yeah.
This is like a very base level thing, but this is how my brain thinks. So the future for Cape Verde, people will ask, like, well, what's next? So there's like two things that should happen. One is this team will now play with a level of confidence over the next few years in AFCONs, in World Cup qualifiers, and AFCON qualifiers, and all of that we always see change, which is there's like a belief in the back of your head that you are good enough, that you are better. The other side that you hope happens out of this is if you look at this group, there's a lot of players who are 30, 31, 32, 34, 35, because they spent most of their careers hoping that they would make a different national team or fighting to do it, or unaware that the opportunity existed to play for a Cape Verde national team that had potential to contend.
Everybody's checking their family tree now to make sure that that they're Cape Verdean.
So now you have the ability to grow this program around younger players going forward who can commit to it, know what they're getting into, and then can be a stable piece. And then the last piece, and the piece that is crucial and often goes wrong in global soccer, especially anything connected to FIFA, is you get a lot of money for these things.
Yes.
The teams win money. Some of that will go to the players. A lot of that goes to the federation. And what I hope we see in 10, 12, 14 years is players developed in Cape Verde, developed on fields and by coaches who are funded by what this program was able to do at this World Cup and what they've done at AFCONs recently. And Cape Verde has done a fantastic job so far. They've built fields over the last 5 years. They've put money into this recruiting program to bring in more people into the staff. That's the focus for them now to make this sustainable. And it can be sustainable.
And think about how this will help tourism, boost tourism as well. I mean, it's a great touristic destination. The Portuguese go there all the time. I want to say just one very quick thing, which is sort of related. Yesterday after the Colombia game, Jackson Heights was crazy. All these Colombians were out. It was a sea of yellow. And the first thought I had was, actually second. The first was, this is amazing. I'm so happy I'm here. The second is, how are there people in this country who want to get rid of this? And now the third, to jump off of what he said, think of all the kids in this country who see this. They're not Colombian, they're not Cape Verdean, but they see the party atmosphere. They know it all comes down to soccer, and they're like, I'm playing soccer because I want to be a part of that.
Okay. Epic day for Cape Verde, big day for Colombia. And the final game from yesterday, there's still one more, was Australia against Egypt. This one goes to penalty kicks. I had to remind myself what we were even talking about at this point. It goes to penalty kicks. I think a lot of this game we had anticipated. There's not a huge gap between these two sides. They're two teams that don't have a lot of different levers to win a game. They can stay in games. They can stay around. For Australia, it has to be noted, Jacob Italiano, who we didn't mention yesterday, he had already gone away from the tournament as their right wing back. And then Jordan Boss, who maybe is the most important player in the team, comes off injured during the game. I think you saw the inability to get out in transition and create chances. A lot of that came from those two not being a part of this team. But these two sides went toe-to-toe. They battled it out. And, you know, I think we'd all be fairly surprised if one of them beat Argentina. And so it really did feel like this was the World Cup final for them. This was the game. And then in the end, you go to penalty kicks. You've got two center backs who step up for Australia. It's a tough situation either way. Lucas Harrington, someone we all know very well, having covered him here. He's 18 years old. He came from Australia to Colorado, which is a rare move to make. He is reportedly connected to Barcelona right now. Tom has put that report out there. That's how highly the top soccer minds in the world think of this young player and what we've seen from him. And so that goes two sides. One is, of course, he shoots. He's so good. He's so composed. He's so mature that he has been able to move continents, become a locked-in starter, and bring in interest from the best players in the world. The other side is, how do you protect an 18-year-old and how do you put them in the best situation? Yeah. I think it's something Gareth Southgate is still thinking about when you go back to the 2021 Euro final and what Bukayo Saka and the guys that he chose to shoot in that. There's no right answer either way, but it was a dramatic game and a tough finish.
Well, the immediate resolution should be going to Harrington. He said, hey, even if you scored, Egypt would have missed.
Yeah.
Would have to miss the next
At
one.
that point.
And that was not going to happen.
Yeah.
So that is a little silver lining because I always go back to the 94 with the Roberto Baggio PK. We got to remember that Franco Baresi missed the first one and Brazil would have had to miss the next two for it. So but now it's because Baggio missed. Anyways, we got to take it to Italy all the time. I'm in pain. What do you want me to do? Every match.
You're coping.
Every
You're
match
doing a good job, Michele.
It's been 3 World Cups, guys.
You want to talk Mo Salah now?
No,
That'll make you happy?
You've talked about Egypt a lot.
Yeah.
They won African Nations Cups, and during that time, they didn't even qualify for the FIFA World Cup. This is the first win of an elimination game on a FIFA World Cup game.
For the oldest team in Africa. They were the first national team to play a game as an African nation.
This was an entertaining game for the wrong reasons, because both teams terrible.
Yeah.
But we knew it went like we kind of knew it was going to be.
Yep.
Egypt was going to dominate possession. They were going to try to play more than Australia. Australia had Iracunda playing as a 9. Give the ball, be direct, give the ball to Volpato, and Volpato trying to make something up. Yeah. Be physical. I mean, Australia was, compared to Egypt, the physical difference you notice on size, on the way that they were playing. But at the end, Australia was erratic, depending on what Volpato could make. Iracunda, I don't think, was a factor on the game.
He struggled in this game.
And Egypt had the chances. Marmoush had a couple chances to kill the game, and he was erratic. Yeah, Egypt moves on, but I think, like you said, Australia, Egypt, they have no shot against Argentina, I don't think.
Yeah, this was a big moment for Egypt. Getting out of the group was a big moment. First time ever now winning this. The Mo Salah penalty is something else.
Yeah, the botched Panenka.
Is it botched?
I think it's botched.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's a full speed runoff to throw the goalkeeper off into the Panenka.
I mean, that may be true, but I don't think he hits it as cleanly as he wants to.
Yeah.
And then he goes up to Matt Ryan and he kind of smiles at him as if to say, sorry.
I felt like it was.
You think it was intentional? I mean, the Panenka was intentional.
It doesn't really matter how you hit it. It's going down the middle. If the goalkeeper stays, he saves it. If he does, there's no quality.
It was just
to
a little
Panenka,
lower than I think you wanted to hit it.
You're never going to chip a keeper if they stay middle. If you Panenka and the goalkeeper stays middle, it's a save.
We'll let you decide at home. I think it was slightly botched.
But I would say for a guy who was under, as he walked up to take it, there was an Egyptian woman sitting near us sort of talking. And you just, it's one of those scenarios, and I think we talked about this with the energy around Argentina. It felt as he was walking up that there was no win. right? The pressure is so immense on Mo Salah to perform for this team, and this really is it for him. Whether he goes to another club or not, the LA Galaxy was what we talked about yesterday. Like, the crest of his career is over. He won things at Liverpool. That was his place. He is carrying Egypt probably for the last time. And it just felt like he walked up and it was just all he could do. You know, if he scores, you expect it. If he doesn't, everything wrong. And to handle that moment in that way is taking 18 years of professional experience and putting it into one shot. And I love seeing those moments from athletes.
Yeah, I agreed. Agreed. I think that's really well put.
Okay, let's dig into the round of 16. Egypt, as I said, will face off against Argentina, and Switzerland and Colombia will face off against each other as well. This is the way I wanted to talk about this one from a big picture, and then we'll talk about today's games. We've got 8 games on tap. They are some unbelievable matchups. They are, and as we have seen over the round of 32, win and go home scenarios in which games get quirky, they get wacky, and the drama is immense. Let's go through and let's each pick the game or matchup we are most excited about, and then we'll talk about the 2 games that are on tap for later today. Michele, I'll have you start, and I kind of think I have an idea of which one you're going to say. But of these 8 games, which matchup, which moment, whatever, gets you most excited?
Clearly for me, it's Mexico-England. I don't think I'm surprising anyone. Definitely not surprising you. I love Mexico. Mexico is my second nation. I'm waiting this game like I'm waiting for the air I need to breathe right now. And for the last 24 hours, everything that I'm seeing from England and the pundits, it's crying about the altitude and crying about the possible time change and crying how is it unfair to play in the altitude. You knew this. You knew this. Coming to the tournament, you said it. You could have planned better. Sorry, you got to play at altitude. Big deal. Deal with it. I'm sorry. You're supposed to be better than Mexico, right? England is supposed to be better than Mexico. Beat Mexico and shut up.
Is the winner of this game a favorite in the quarterfinal then in Miami? So we'll be against, some matchup. Wait, let me make sure I have this right. It's Argentina, right? No, Brazil, Norway. So it's both of these teams. My question for you here is, when Mexico leaves altitude,
this is going to be
still a favorite?
So this answer might confuse you a little bit.
I look forward to that.
If Mexico wins, they will not be the favorite.
Okay.
Because they go out of Azteca and it's a whole different ball game for them. If England win the game, they will be favorite against Brazil and Norway. That makes sense?
Yeah. Makes perfect sense. This one's going to be on Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern time, or not. We're kind of throwing it up there and seeing what happens.
It will be played, though.
It will.
6 p.m. local time.
At some point.
We think that actually may be open to an opinion as well for the first time in World Cup history. And it's going to be a special game at the Azteca. As you said, last time England played there, Diego Maradona had 2 goals. We have one of them in our Roto thing as we open up every single show. Everyone likes to talk about the hand of God, which, one, I love talking about because he's 5'5", and he jumps over Peter Schell, and he keeps his hand near his head, so it's not like he's extending his arm. And like the pure athleticism on it is incredible. And then the second goal is the greatest goal in the history of the sport.
Yeah.
And everyone likes to bypass that
I don't know.
part.
Sidney Lopes Cabral now has something to say about that.
Hey, Argentina, they're in it no matter what, whichever way you go.
It's funny with the hand of God how everyone gets offended about any player trying to take advantage at any point of any action of any game. And the hand of God, it's worldwide, historically celebrated. Oh my God, he was so clever.
Luis Suarez
It's
against
the
Ghana as
biggest
well.
cheating play in the history of soccer.
Yes.
And you know why people don't mind? Because people hate England. And that's what happens.
And it was with the backdrop of the Falklands War as well.
Yeah. No, the whole thing is wild.
Really
Las Malvinas.
Yeah, the
Malvines.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a big one for you.
For me, it has to be Belgium, USA. The context surrounding this game is what makes it so interesting to me, because obviously Belgium beat them in 2014 in the round of 16. Tim Howard has an historic day. Wando misses a chance that everybody thinks he should score. If I'm choosing a U.S. player in that moment to have that opportunity, it would have been Wando. So there's an irony there. Also, the fact that Belgium comes into that game against the United States as clear favorites in 2014. Then let's go back to March. 5-1. Where was that game played? In Atlanta?
Yeah.
5-1 in Atlanta.
5-2, I think.
Or 5-2. And
USA.
everything that came out of that game, the fury from U.S. fans, the scrutiny that Pochettino went under. He doesn't know his 11. What kind of formation was this? There's no cohesion within this team. We got trounced again by a European team. Everybody thought it was embarrassing. I should say that I'm on record saying that I actually really liked that performance from the U.S. I thought they had moments that have prefaced what we're seeing now. But going into this game, I don't think Belgium are the favorites coming into this game. I think the U.S., given how they've played, how they've dominated their opponents, are favorites coming into this game. So how do the U.S. men's national team players deal with the burden of expectation now? Had they gotten a result in 2014, they're the underdogs. Amazing. Let's celebrate this moment. But now the entire country, or most of it, will be watching this game. They will have seen, you would hope, what happened in the previous matches. They want to get on board now. And so they're expecting the U.S. to deliver against Belgium. I think they will, but will that pressure, will that anticipation, will the huge viewership affect how they perform against the Red Devils?
So I said immediately on our post-game show that U.S. fans and U.S. pundits and everybody involved with U.S. soccer, welcome to the weight of expectations. Because against Bosnia, there was no silver lining. If you lost against Bosnia, it would have been historic catastrophe.
Yes.
If you won, it was well done.
You were supposed to do it.
You were the overwhelming favorite.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know, Dave, correct me. With all the momentum building, right? And the expectations now that you have built, is this the biggest game in a U.S. soccer, U.S. men's national team's history? I think so too.
It is.
But I know they already won an elimination game.
Yeah.
But if they lose, they end up at the exact place on paper that 2022. So my question is, if you win, is your biggest win ever, your biggest moment ever. So if you lose, it's a failure?
No. I don't think those two things have to go together. Now,
or it depends how you lose, if you lose.
Yeah. I think big swings, that's the nature of stuff. Big swings. To gain big, you have to be able to fall big. I think, and me and Joel talked about this a little bit on our preview show yesterday, which is up on the soccer or on the SoccerWise feed. The nature that they've played, the way they've played, they've already won, because for this stretch of time, they've made people enjoy watching them play, and they've done that in a way they've never done before. And so by beating Bosnia, you've won a knockout game. You've extended the World Cup a week longer for people to engage with you, for people to love you. And the way they've played has changed the reality, which is not just they've survived, they've moved on. 2014, they played 25 seconds of soccer against Ghana, and that's what got them into the next round. And then they get crushed by Belgium. No one's going to say that. I mean, even Turkey, they rotated their entire starting lineup. They put up 2 goals. Like, this is not a team that scores goals at a World Cup, ever. Since 1930, like, that's just not stuff that happens. So
when they beat Belgium, by the way, in the 1930s.
So
I do have one caveat to that.
What?
My only caveat is this. I think you're 100% spot on when it comes to people who already watch soccer in this country thinking they've delivered on the field. Not only have they gotten results, but they've also played extremely well, arguably one of the best teams in this World Cup. But for the casual fan who's just tuning in, who's just now enveloped by the hype, if they don't deliver against Belgium, if it's not close, I would say if they don't win, but if it's not close, the casual fan who has just tuned in to be a part of the party will probably think to themselves, you see, people made too much of this.
Maybe. If you don't win the World Cup, there's going to be an extent of people who are always that way. And when you talk about the blowout, I think that goes into the way it's happened. which would connect to what I was saying. So, yeah, if they come out and they lay an egg and they lose 5-0, then the way they've played is no longer the same as what it is today. But there's a world in which you lose, and I think you still walk away with a lot of the fans. I think the first job was gaining soccer fans in the U.S. to the U.S. men's national team, right? Gaining the million plus that watch Liga MX every weekend, with the million plus that watch EPL, with the 90,000 that watch La Liga and Serie A and Bundesliga, and mix that all together and give them a team that they can root for. For my game, I'm going to be the one that says Spain, Portugal, because someone's got to say Spain, Portugal. And there's like a lot of different reasons: the proximity, a little bit of political background, some angst between the two countries, and all of that. But the easiest way to talk about this is put together a list of the 5 best midfielders on the planet. There's a decent chance it's just the starting lineup in this game. Like, you're going to have Vitinha and João Neves and Bruno Fernandes. I nailed those.
I thought you did great.
Against Pedri and Rodri. Like, that could be the list. Now, there are other guys that can sneak in there, but from pure quality and talent, these are going to be the 22 best soccer players on a field of any of the quarterfinal games we see. It's a legacy game for a lot of people because you only get here every once in a while. Like, Portugal can tell you, you don't get this far all the time, and they've never won a World Cup. And if to do it, this would be an incredible road to go through. And then on the flip side, for Spain, you don't know how often you're going to be healthy. They haven't won a knockout game since 2010. Spain's entire World Cup history is disappointment, except for 2010.
They hadn't won a knockout game since 2010 because they beat Austria.
For sure.
Yeah.
Pretty handily, too. So it's a huge moment for a lot of great players. It's two countries who have a similar soccer brain. It's high possession. It's connecting the game, which could lead to boring and dull, or it could lead to everyone is playing on their number one frequency.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, Vitinha's connecting the game, and all of a sudden, Pedri's making runs and finding the game, and we could be seeing something great. You add on top of that, the best left back in the world facing off against the best right winger on the planet. That matchup, and one we've seen in Champions League and we've seen at a high level.
And we saw it in the Nations League final, and we saw who won that one. So that's playing in the mind of Lamine Yamal.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I guarantee.
Absolutely.
And arguably the best ball-playing center backs in the world. So it's what you want at a point like this. You want giants against each other, and they both have a lot of pressure to not lose. They both have, again, huge opportunity to win. I think both of them will be the favorite coming out of this game into the quarterfinals, where they would play the winner of USA-Belgium, right? So you're really looking at a pathway to a semifinal here for these two countries. For Portugal, I think there's an element of, we made the mistake, we didn't win the group, so now we're in this bracket, we have to deal with this. But if you go out and win it, then it was like worth it because it's even better off. And for Spain, you're the number one team coming into the World Cup. Everyone's gunning for you. You know that's the reality, but this will be the best team that they play so far. So for me, that unquestionably is the top matchup of the round. There's a lot of elements in a lot of these other games that are really interesting to talk about. And let's dig into the ones that we're going to get to today. Let's start with France versus Paraguay, which is our late game. That one will be at 5 p.m. Eastern time from Philadelphia. Big celebrations before the game, as we will see, July 4th stuff in Pennsylvania. And I think Ben Franklin's going to come out and do something and everything else around that one. And then, of course, we have the early game, Canada-Morocco, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But to set the stage for us here on this France-Paraguay game, we'll bring in our fourth member, Mr. Matt Doyle, who has already kindly dug into this game for us. And it is our Football Manager 26 Tactics board. Doyle is looking at France and specifically how they've used one of the guys we mentioned, Michael Olise, as their number 10.
Against Senegal in their World Cup opener, France started the match with Michael Olise on the right wing. And by halftime, they were losing the tactical battle. Then manager Didier Deschamps moved him inside and the entire match flipped. In the opening 45 of that game, Olise operated mostly as a right midfielder, tucking inside only when right back Jules Koundé overlapped. It was serviceable, but kind of restless and formless. Senegal actually finished the first half ahead on expected goals and in control of the game. Second half, though, Deschamps set him free. Olise moved into a central attacking midfield role, a true number 10, with Tchouaméni and Rabiot screening behind him. By full time, the underlying numbers were absurd. He was man of the match, the match's top expected assists mark, most shot-creating passes, most progressive passes, most passes into the box. And that was the last time France started him wide. And the effect is structural. By living in the gaps between the lines, Olise gives every teammate a higher value pass to make. Instead of forcing risky balls into a crowded box, defenders and midfielders can find him first, then let him pick the moment to release someone. It also frees Kylian Mbappe from dropping deep to get involved. He can just stay on the last line and attack space because Olise is already doing the connecting work underneath him. That's the difference between a team bending around a superstar and a team built through one. Olise doesn't reduce what Mbappe, Dembele, and Doué can do. He unlocks it, handling the vision and timing so they're free to just run, isolate defenders, and finish. One halftime adjustment, a whole tournament transformed.
Football Manager 26 International Mode is available now. You can download it on Steam or on your favorite console, PlayStation, Xbox, or Nintendo Switch. The sale, 50% off, runs through July 9th. So now is the time. Get the game as you're learning about all these players. Be Cape Verde yourself. Or maybe go out, build a Portuguese second division team like I did, where you can end up with a lot of Cape Verde internationals because that's where half of them play. And you can imagine the life of you eating fresh sardines on the water and eating bread with fresh olive oil and everything else that goes on inside of that. France, Paraguay, kicking off, as I said, in Philadelphia later today. Doyle sort of stressed the point of what Michael Olise has brought as the number 10 for this team. There's going to be a lot of responsibility on his shoulders because you already know how Paraguay are going to play. Someone is going to have to pry that defense open.
Yeah, somebody's going to have to break those lines, or Paraguay. I think this, I'm not saying anything that we don't agree. This is the most unbalanced matchup of the round of 16. We can expect France to have 90% of possession, and Paraguay just sitting back as tight and as compact as they can, because that's their style also. But they haven't faced this a monster like this in the build-up of this Alfaro's run with the team.
For your reference point, Germany was 76% possession. France is better than Germany.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if I see 85-90% possession.
So I don't even know how to calculate
I don't see how this game doesn't finish 4-5-0 France.
Yes, but I can imagine Deschamps going into the locker room today and saying, "Mes amis, did you see yesterday?" No, sorry. Did you guys see what happened with Cape Verde? And now Cape Verde is a far superior team to Paraguay.
Yeah.
But the warning is still there.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you go into this game thinking that this is going to be a pushover, which it should be, let's be honest, you can make a mistake that will eliminate you. He is exactly the kind of coach that will remind them of that reality. As for Paraguay, their job is done. We knocked off Germany. Yes, we want to win this game, but pressure's off, man. If we can hold off France, take them to penalties or take them to extra time, that's a win in our book. So I don't think it's a trap game by any measure of the imagination, any stretch of the imagination, but I think that warning is going to be there.
Yeah, I think if you're Paraguay, if you concede, what do you do? Because at some point you're going to have to try and get yourself back into it.
They don't know how to play.
It is.
I'm sorry, Paraguayans, but you know that's true.
It's not the way their team is set up, but as you said, they're playing on house money. They've had their historic moment. They've done what they want to do. The final game of today, the first game of today, 1 p.m. Eastern time, Canada against Morocco. Everything Canada has done at this World Cup has been historic. On the men's side, it was their first victory in World Cup history after scoring their first goal last World Cup. The ability to host a men's World Cup, absolutely massive. Then they get their first knockout game victory over South Africa, and now they have their biggest test against Morocco in Houston. I think the climate control of Houston helps Canada more than it helps Morocco. Canada is a team that likes to try and pressure the ball and play against the ball and create opportunities in transition. I think that gets easier with the weather versus Morocco, who are going to knock it around and be in possession. I have huge fears for this Canada team because this is, I think, the best performing right now midfield in the entire World Cup. And if Canada gets anything wrong in pressing moments, Morocco will play through them, and they have the quality up top to finish it off and take care of business. So for Canada, they're going to have to read when and where they want to pressure. And when they do it, they're going to have to be perfect. Because any mistakes in that opens yourself up to some really dangerous situations. But Canada can't sit in for 90 to 120 minutes. It's not who they are in their DNA. And I don't think it should be.
I don't think they will.
It's just about being smart and finding your opportunities. And the big conversation for this game is going to be Alphonso Davies. How available is he? What can you get from him? He played about 18 minutes against South Africa. And in my book, if he's got 45 in him, I'd play him from the start.
I don't agree with what you said. I think Canada needs to high press Morocco. And I understand it's a big risk.
Yeah.
But I think that's the only way that they could generate chances, force a Morocco mistake. Because if you, like you said, sit back and just absorb, Morocco is going to find a way. And as the moment you make a mistake at midfield, Morocco is going to slice you through, like you said. I think Jesse Marsch should be faithful to his nature and press Morocco, especially at the beginning. If you can win and get a goal those 10, 15 minutes, and then you can sit back and try to absorb and manage the game. But I think Canada should go out with their hair on fire, press the living hell out of Morocco, and try to win the game that way.
Reminder, these two teams faced off against each other in the group stage of the 2022 World Cup. For even more for Morocco than Canada. It's a massively different team.
Yeah.
But that's what Canada tried to do at that World Cup, was they tried to come out and press teams early and tried to create chaos. They played really, really well in those moments. They never got the goal for it, and they ended up losing all three games. Morocco scored in the 4th minute and the 23rd minute before Canada finally scored on an own goal in the 40th. Now, it's a different, they're two different teams in two different moments, different countries, different time of the year, like everything else is happening. But that is part of the calculus for them.
You have to high press them. You can't let Morocco build up. They're gonna destroy you.
Listen, Canada's best chances of scoring are going to come out of pressure moments. The question is, how high is your line initially, when and where? And for Canada, it's going to be all about their scouting and their triggers. I think if it was me for Canada, Mazraoui, every time he touches the ball, that would be my trigger, because he's a little bit less quick. He's not going to get out of tight space on his own. He also likes to face inside. So if you can get him turned outside up the sideline, you at least minimize the risk of what you're doing, but also you have the potential to, if he sits on the ball for a moment more, you can win it, you can get it there. Also, in that theory, in that moment, whether it's Alphonso Davies, whoever coming from the left side, they're now a finisher coming across, because Hakimi has probably started to cheat up the field. And that's the other piece for me with Fonzie. Whatever minutes he has, it's your best chance to pin Achraf Hakimi deeper on the field. He's the best right back in the world. I think Alphonso Davies is the best left back in the world. You disagree, and that's totally fine. He's one of the two, with Xiao.
You said that Portugal left back was the best in the world. You just said it 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. Nuno Mensch, sorry. I know. If you get anything from Fonzie, I think I'd rather set the tone with him than keep him in my back pocket for late in the game.
I think it's sacrilegious that you think that Alphonso Davies is a better defender than Nuno Mensch, but I'm not going to go there. Mazraoui has been one of the standouts of this World Cup defensively. Outstanding against the Netherlands. My goodness, the man was bedeviled. Is that a way to explain? Whatever. I just imagine when you mentioned the temperature-controlled stadium, I just mentioned Mohamed Ouabi turning up the thermostat somewhere in the stadium.
Listen, he promised Mexico fans that at the 2030 World Cup, Moroccan fans would return the favor for them. So he could go to Houston and say, hey, if you guys want some assistance in the next 4 years, please be on our side.
A couple of factors for me, real quick. How healthy is Bombito going into this game? Is this going to be a situation where Marsch, not only with Alphonso Davies, but with Bombito, where he's playing two guys who are definite starters, but then has to pull them both off at a certain point? That can absolutely condition how you make substitutions in this game, how you deal with game state. I think Morocco is a considerably superior team to Canada, but I think you're absolutely right that Canada will try to press or counter-press the heck out of Morocco, because attempting to do anything else is a self-inflicted wound.
It's going to be the biggest moment in Canada soccer history if they're able to get a victory here.
It's already a success.
Even if it goes deep into the game, I thought Jesse Marsch's speech on the field after that last game was correct. in what these players have done, the model they've built. A lot of them will be around for a little while. You talk about center back. Luke de Foucault has been one of the best defenders at this World Cup. He's 19 years old.
I don't actually agree with that. Maybe it's because he had one terrible game, I thought. But anyway, that's a different topic.
I think he's been pretty composed. Also, I don't think Derek Cornelius has been great. So I think there's been a lot of responsibility on his shoulders. He's also been subbed in and out at the center back position in ways that are very rare.
I'm not saying he's been bad. I just think people have been overstating how good Giroud's been.
I think Arsene Wenger put it in his report or something, and therefore it flies from there.
Did he really?
Yeah, I think in the FIFA group stage report that the FIFA experts analysis, the list of former players that do this, he came out of the report as one of the highest rated defenders.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, what do I know?
Go outside, nerd.
So for this Canada team, Steven Eustachio obviously coming off a big game. Tejan Buchanan's been underwhelming. Jonathan David's been quiet now.
Saliba.
Outside of the one game. Nathan Saliba will have to step in for Ismail Kone, who is obviously a huge loss for this team. Some debate on the other position. I have said over and over, if Fonzie's starting, I start Ali Ahmed because he can cover ground and defend in his place. If Fonzie's not starting, I'd start Ali Ahmed because he's better than Liam Miller. He's better than Tejan Buchanan. He's better than Richie Larea. He's just a better
He's a bag of
player.
tricks, that guy.
Yeah, he's a better soccer player, and he does his job.
Yeah.
So I don't know how he doesn't end up starting. So there's a few different starting questions there, and there's just talent across the board for this Morocco team. Again, another team we've talked about, how young they are. Like, these are two groups that'll be around for the next 4 years, and we could see them face off again, maybe at the next World Cup, which Morocco will host. Let me ask you this real quick. Actually, I'm not going to ask you, I'll ask you. Morocco, Spain, Portugal, co-hosting the next World Cup.
Yeah.
It has the potential to be one of the strongest World Cups ever because hosts automatically qualify, and all three of these hosts deserve to. Which of the three has the best chance of winning this World Cup?
This World Cup?
Yeah.
It's Spain.
Okay.
I think Spain is behind France as a favorite.
He has spoken, and we will see. By the end of Monday, we will know of these three co-hosts of the next World Cup. At least one will be eliminated. Potentially two could be moving on, or all three co-hosts of this World Cup could be moving on.
I thought you were going to ask me who had the better chance to win that World Cup in 2030. Morocco.
Okay. There you go. Make sure to get to Fez, Casablanca, and Marrakesh in about 4 years. We'll be doing the show
there
live.
We'll be there live.
Enjoy July 4th for anyone in the U.S. who is. If you're not, just enjoy the World Cup. It's the greatest sporting event. As Eric said, it is essential to our humanity, and we are going to enjoy every second of it. We'll be back tomorrow with a live show. Big shout out to Derek and Connor for coming in with us and being here in person. And happy birthday to Derek. He will be missing tomorrow, but we love him anyway. We hope he is celebrating with his friends and family, and we'll talk to you all again very, very soon.